Sir, we are.
A very good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this Sunday evening and being a part of our 6th JGLS Young Scholars Colloquium. We have some amazing panelists with us. Ali Waris Rao has joined us from Hindalco Legal Department and an alumnus of our LLB 3-year program of 14-17 batch. Alia Waziri had joined us from, again, our LLB program. She works with UN Women India and also as a lawyer in the High Court in Delhi. Vasudha Ahuja had joined us, who was still recently with Ketan and Company, immediately after graduating from Jindal Global Law School in the LLB program and served a good 3 years. Sejal is our youngest panelist. She's our first semester student of BA Honors Legal Studies program and certainly destined to do an LLB Honors after that. But this episode of the Young Scholars Colloquium is very special, as we are doing it today. On 30th September, we completed 12 years of our commencement of classes, and we celebrated University Day, though unfortunately in the virtual mode, and we could not do the events on campus, which we have always done in past. But the university and law school completed 12 years as on 30th September 2009. It started its journey with 110 students and 10 faculty members. Today, we are 490 full-time faculty members and over 4,500 students in our law school and almost 8,000 students in the university and some 900 faculty members in the university. I must say the university and the law school both has come a long way. This week was also very special because our university had a strong, wide collaboration with Deakin University in Australia, and that will enable students of both OP Jindal Global University and the Deakin University in Australia to collaborate for exchange programs, for dual degree programs, for semester and year exchange, and also enabling a lot of India-Australia higher education partnerships. More importantly, this week has witnessed a remarkable development, which I will say one of our alumni achievements. In my knowledge, one of our first alumni to become a partner in AZB and Partners happened this week, just I think 24 hours back, when Gaurav Bansal, our first batch LLM graduate, when LLM used to be a 2-year program, and he joined our first LLM batch in 2010 and studied till 2012, and actually earned his degree in the first convocation of the university in 2012, has become a partner in one of the top law firms in the country, AZB and Partners. So it's a remarkable time when we are doing this webinar, when we are doing this colloquium. Lastly, I should also add, on 23rd of last month, so I mean just a week back, in one of the rankings of QS, the Quackrelli-Simons, renowned university ranking organization based in London, what is called QS Employers Ranking, where basically they rank universities on the basis of employability of the graduates. UP Jindal Global University has broken into top 500 universities in the world. And it's very remarkable. We are the youngest university to break into top 500 university rankings globally. We were also one of the only 2 private universities. The other one is BITS Pilani, and only 12 Indian universities which made to this list of 500 top universities in the world in the QS employability rankings. So it's a remarkable development. And in this context, this colloquium becomes even more special as we focus today on the diversity of legal careers. So to start with, I will like Ali Waris Rao, who is joining us from Madhya Pradesh. And I would like to tell his own story. He came from University of Delhi after doing a bachelor's degree and chose to study LLB at Jindal, though he has studied his bachelor's degree in very close vicinity of my own alma mater, Faculty of Law, Campus Law Center. And he came all the way to Sonipat, graduated, worked as an advocate, and now as a legal manager in Hindalco, which is an Aditya Birla Group company. I want Ali to start his speech, his talk, and his journey, both as a student of law, as a student prior to joining law school, and then as a professional in both courtroom as well as the legal department of a company. Over to you, Ali.
Thank you, Professor Mishra, for those generous remarks. Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone who are part of this colloquium for organizing this session and sort of trying to connect and sharing all the diverse perspectives that the panelists have. So thank you, Professor Mishra and the organizing team for those erudite remarks. I'd share my own learnings, my own experiences, whatever little I've had in my short span of about 4 years as a lawyer. But prior to that, starting off with my undergraduate degree, I did my undergraduate degree from University of Delhi. So there I studied political science honors. And at that point of time, I wasn't sure that I had to take up law as a career or as a profession. So I was just studying various subjects in addition to political science, like constitutional democracy and governance in India. I sort of threw in philosophy also there to sort of understand logic and philosophy. Of course, English is also a language there in my undergraduate degree. Where polity has a very close nexus with the law and also civil services. So that's what was very, very prominent. I used to see in North Campus back then during 2011 and 14 that every second or third student or my batchmates were either preparing for A, civil services, second was academics, third was perhaps law. So that was the way the students were made up. But in hindsight now, when I look back and I think, considering my makeup and the way I think, the way I speak, and the way I even read things, I'm of the view that law was a career that I had chosen consciously towards the end of my final year of undergraduate degree. I knew, as a matter of fact, that I wasn't a very good student in maths. I was okay. I had average grades. But if I were to do, say, an MBA, which required heavy quad skills, I wasn't very good at it. So I won't be able to sort of capitalize on the MBA as a career if I would have taken that path. Having said that, I was more inclined towards academics and law, the mix of both. So I took law very consciously, and so it was not really an active choice, but rather a passive one. So in my final year of undergrad, when I was almost done with my studies, about to give my final exams, law was a career that was very thought through. So gave my LSAT, got it, and Jindal was, of course, one of the schools I was targeting, primarily because I had at that time, Legally India was coming up with various blogs about Jindal. So I got in touch with a few individuals who were already studying there, texted them, understood the process, and also went through the brochure. So that's how I sort of started off with the journey of taking up law as a career. I won't sort of bore anyone, and it won't be a monologue. I'll just try and keep it whatever has been my experience as a lawyer. Then thereafter, I joined Jindal in the year 2014. And when I started joining the course, I wasn't very sure that law as a career is meant for me. When I just joined, I had certain inhibitions, apprehensions. So it's only when I met the faculty, I started engaging with the faculty. I realized that this is truly a global faculty that's coming from all across the globe. And this is not for me to say that the faculty was only Indian faculty or faculty were only coming for a particular jurisdiction. Faculties were coming from, say, Canada, from the UK, from the US, you name it. So very vaguely, I remember some of the discussions also. We used to have, Professor Josh was there, he taught me legal methods and research and writing. Then there was Professor Bryce Bachelor. He taught us effective advocacy. How do you actually, some of these learnings that I also imbibe when I'm working, I think that these individuals brought in a lot of distinct perspective from their own jurisdictions. So when they sort of taught me, how do you articulate a point of view? How do you introspect with respect to a particular proposition of law? That's one thing that I learned from Professor Josh, Professor Price, and also the elective on sports law, Professor Weatherly Schwab was brilliant. So when I'm thinking now, when I look back and when I study, I really realize the substantive elements of the law that were taught is something that you cannot learn when you join the profession. The procedural aspect you learn, the procedure part, but the substantive part, either you learn it in law school or you join during the course of practice, but it's not really feasible for you to learn during the course of practice. So that was my learnings, my experiences, and one key attribute of Jindal has been the fact that when I all these internships, I tried my hands at almost everything under the sun during my short stints for 3 years. So ranging from top tier law firms to councils to policy to even human rights, I put my hands on everything and anything under the sun. So that's the kind of exposure I think I got, considering the fact that it was a young university back then, still is, but it was very, very at the very nascent stages of its growth. And the kind of opportunities that Jindal threw at me, I'm sure no other law school would have thrown at me, considering the fact that 3-year law school also it's good. But if you compare vis-a-vis the 5-year batch, both are equally good. But the kind of opportunities it threw at me back then, I'm not sure whether the opportunities would have been right now, in the sense of the competition that has increased off late. So I would say I was lucky, and we were lucky back then we had a career and development placement division of placements. And I was also part of the LB group taking care of my batch. So now I think all of that, when I look back, and I think considering the faculty, the student quality, that's the other aspect of it. Students were, of course, we had Dr. Prajwal was there. We had Arvan was there. I'm sure they were students of impeccable quality. I mean, when you used to interact with them, you used to learn something, and the doctor used to bring his own specialist domain knowledge in medical jurisprudence. So cases like Nalsa versus Union in India, when you're having a discussion with a doctor, he'll bring in his own element in the classroom. When you're having a discussion on, say, patents, a guy who's done his engineering will give his own perspective. So all of that, I think, three-year batch, the quality of students, and also the kind of students that are coming in, students from life sciences background who are sure that they want to pursue a career in intellectual property. So when you have an interaction with them after the class, especially in the reading room I used to have in the library, it's a different experience altogether. And now, if I were to compare the 3-year course vis-a-vis the 5-year course, I think there are not many differences in terms of the only key distinction that I find it's good is the fact that the students are much more mature. So in the 3-year batch, when you interact, when you engage with them, there's so much to learn. I'm sure Vasudha is also there as a panelist. I briefly interacted with her when I was in law school. Everyone brings in a different uniqueness. And that's something that's the key in the 3-year batch that I'm sure you can't really connect in the 5-year batch. And there were other brilliant students also, other brilliant faculty members are also there. Professor Vishavjit is there. I'm still in touch with him. So these are the kind of faculty that the interactions you've had. It was not a very one-off thing that I am the teacher, you are the student, you're asking me a question, it's a bad thing. That I never felt that in law school. If I had a query, I asked the professor, even after the course was, the semester ended, I used to chit chat with the professors, and they had an open door policy vis-a-vis the Delhi University, in which I found that it was somewhat hierarchy was there. But in the three-year course in the Jindal Global Law School, I never felt that sort of a hierarchy that was there. And the gulf, the most important thing that I really like about Jindal and still do is the fact that Jindal Law School hires faculty who are young and who have merit and who are talented. So the gulf between, say, the student and the professor is somewhat less. So then the good part of that is that faculty who's in their early 40s, students are in their mid, let's say, early 20s. The gulf is somewhat less and you learn more. And it's a two-way communication, it's a conversation, a dialogue. So that's the best thing that I felt about Jindal Global Law School. I can go on and on. I think I'll just stop there and sort of now just briefly say it was an exhilarating and a brilliant exposure, brilliant experience.
Thank you so much, Ali. It's such a pleasure hearing to you after a long time, and also seeing you doing so well professionally in a way, managing legal affairs of one of the leading corporations in this country. I think you are based in Madhya Pradesh right now, but your company is headquartered in Mumbai, what I understand. And you are handling the legal affairs of the unit where I don't know how many lawyers are there, but you are in such a responsible position. I am absolutely delighted to see your career trajectory. Now I'll come to Vasudha. Vasudha is a graduate of 1518 LLB batch, and I have very fond memories of Vasudha joining the law school. Before Vasudha, I think I had some telephonic conversation even with her father, Mr. Ahuja, and mother as well. Vasudha had offers from University College London and a few more institutions. She wanted to go to the UK, and I wanted her to study at Jindal in our LLB program. She came with a degree from Jai Hind College in Mumbai University, if I remember correct. And she ultimately decided to join JGLS, became a part of the law school. I even remember very fondly the moment you graduated. You joined Ketan and Company, their Mumbai office, and it was an absolute delight when I had to visit that firm, pre-COVID times. I think 2019, on an official visit, I could meet you in Ketan and Company itself. So it's such a pleasure, Vasudha, to see you and to invite you for this colloquium. So over to you now. Please share your journey with our audience who are present on both YouTube and Facebook. And I request the audience to put your questions in the chat box on YouTube if you want to put any question to the panelists or to the entire panel as such. Over to you, Vasudha.
Thank you so much, sir. I must say before I say anything else, the pleasure and the honor is all mine to be here today. With that, good evening to everyone, to the panelists. Before I say anything, I'm going to express a lot of gratitude to you, Professor Mishra, to Vice Chancellor Rajkumar, to Jindal, JGLS. Thank you so much. It's one thing for a student to want to constantly stay connected to their educational institutions, and of course such a privileged one, but it's another thing for the institution to remember and recognize them. And just like you mentioned, when I had the chance to meet you while working at Khaitan Company, I think that was a very big moment for me, because it is from Jindal that it is because of Jindal that I was able to work with Khaitan and Company, and it sort of makes a little bit of a full circle. So so with that, I think I will go back a bit and sort of talk a little bit about my journey to Jindal during, and then a little bit at Khaitan. So very rightly, sir, I did my BA in economics. I'm an economics major from Jai Hind College in Bombay, and so actually all my education is from Bombay. I went to the JV Pettit High School for Girls till the 10th. Then I was in the Cathedral and John Connon School for the 11th and 12th, and then I was in Jai Hind. So my education is always at home, living with my parents. And of course, in a very nurturing environment, but an environment that really sort of helped you grow and find yourself, and sort of supported whatever interests and desires that you had. And I think that's what sort of, when I was in college, I started sort of thinking about. Now, this whole discussion, and I'm picking up a little bit because I find some similarities between Ali's account of his experience and mine. So I actually, since I was in 8th or 9th standard, when you start sort of thinking about what you want to do or who you want to be in your life, you start, sort of thinking about it, and a lot of things that I, got from my own introspection and from my parents, families, and friends was that that I'm very analytical and also argumentative at the same time, if I may say so. So law was definitely something that it was definitely on the books, and when 11th and 12th, a lot of my classmates were, after school, they would take out a lot of time to prepare for their CLAT and things like that. At that time, I sort of thought about, whether that's the route I wanted to take at that point. And for some reason, I didn't feel ready. And I felt that before I sort of go into 5 years, of a legal education, maybe I want to do something else. And I had the aptitude for an interest for economics. I had taken maths in 12th. I was studying accounts and things. So I said, might as well take some more time to sort of think about this decision and be sure that I really do want to study law and be a lawyer in the future. So that's why I studied economics. But of course, this thing keeps playing in your mind. And so in college, I said, okay, that's definitely, I know that that's something I'm interested in, but I'm going to try a few things. So I did an internship with an ad agency. I did an internship with, a travel agency and things like that. But ultimately, I was fortunate enough, even before I was in law school, I got the chance to intern with a law firm. And that sort of, made the decision that I'm definitely studying law. Now, like I said, when I started, uh, I had been at home, for all my life, and I lived with my parents. And I thought, maybe I should sort of uh, build my personality a little differently, and sort of leave the nest for a bit. So that's where I had this a very strong desire to sort of study overseas. And I like, so you mentioned that I had offers from various universities in the UK, and then it just so happened that that one decision needs to be made, whether um, your legal education is going to be from sort of should be from the country that you ultimately want to be in. And the question that I always had was, okay, I know that I'm going to be in India, but where do I get this holistic education? And I couldn't possibly do 5 years again. I couldn't go to a national law school and sort of redo 3 years. So I think that was a decision, and you, sir, and few others, of course, Rajkumar sir as well, were very, very convincing. And that's how my Jindal journey began. And I must say that that's one of the best decisions I've probably made for my, of course, my career, my education, and of course, my personality as well, which I will get into. So the reason, of course, that I eventually chose to come to Jindal is because it sort of gave me a sort of a best of both worlds kind of experience. And that's really what I was looking for, where I'm getting a holistic, well-rounded legal education with good foundations, good faculty, just as Ali very, very rightly explained. And I fully agree. My experience has been the same on that count. But at the same time, I had the opportunity to get different kinds, different forms of international exposure, and that really made a difference in shaping the decisions that I made after Jindal and who I am. For instance, starting from the summer programs, I attended a summer program at Oxford, which was International Law and Global Governance. Another year, I had the opportunity to attend a summer program at Columbia, which was on business law. Of course, I also had the opportunity to attend an exchange program, which is a little longer. So I spent a semester at Queen Mary University of London. So again, I wanted to go to the UK for an education. I got that, a bit of that through Jindal as well. And of course, I think another very, very memorable and significant international experience that I had was participating in the Willem C. Wiss Moot, which was held in 2017. And very proudly, our team from Jindal that I was also a part of, we came runners up. And we came runners up at Vienna. And that was, I think, a mean feat for the team, Jindal. And I would say, my team members would agree, because, they've all put in a lot of hard work. And, we very proudly like to say that maybe we did help the country a bit, because we had over 300 teams participating from all over the world. So, what Jindal did for me was sort of help me understand where I stood internationally also. And I realized that, studying at Queen Mary or even the moot court competition, which is also very, very, very prestigious for alternate dispute resolution, that, Jindal really sets you up well. And I fared very well in Queen Mary. Of course, the competition, we did very well. So, you sort of go into this wondering where you stand. As a team at the competition, we were just 5 of us, just going from one round after the other, motivating each other. Whereas we were facing teams who had special coaches. We had a team whose coach was from the House of Lords. So it could have been very intimidating for us. But and all of this only comes through the nurturing, the exposure, the facilities that we were provided in Jindal. I think that I, like Ali, likes to put my hands and feet everywhere and get a little bit of everything, which sort of has helped me make my decisions. So, even other than this, I did internships in many different areas. I helped the Women and Child Development Office in India. I had the opportunity to intern with Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, and it was very I mean, it was an honor for me because at the time I was taking an elective on privacy law and also the privacy judgment, which he was also, contributing as a judge for. I was able to have a discussion with him, and it was nice to share inputs and then see that finally in the judgment. So that is a very significant experience as well. All of these things sort of ultimately shaped what I wanted to do in my next step. And at the end of my 3 years, where I had taken, I think I had 3 or 4 or 5 extra subjects that I'd taken just because I could. Oh yes, I had. I even took an elective on law, desire, and popular culture with Professor Deepika Jain, and we got exposure to the LGBTQ different orientations, how things are dealt with. So at the end of all of this, I really asked myself that I've had a wonderful education, legal education, and before that, I have studied economics. So what could my next steps be? So that's how sort of my sort of that's how I started off thinking of firm life, where I thought that after having studied for 6 years, let's see how this will play out. Now, like Ali mentioned, theoretically, that's what you want your law school to set you up for, and the procedural aspects or the day-to-day practical aspects are what you will have to learn on the job. But because of the international exposure that I got in Jindal and the general exposure with so much, with so many accomplished faculty members and the discourse with students, the researchers and everyone, it gives you a confidence when you have to work in a professional setup like a tier 1 law firm, which has international clients, very large, big clients, where I think very early on, when I had started working with Khaitan & Company, within my first 6-7 months, I was getting opportunities to attend meetings with clients or directly interact. And that sort of gives you a little confidence to interact with them, to draw out what is required, and also give your own value add to the work that you're doing. Now, having studied 6 years after school, I didn't have professional exposure or working exposure as many of my other LLB batchmates did. So this was my first job, and a little bit of nervousness happens and stuff. But I think that a lot of I will definitely give Khaitan & Company that credit, that they create a nurturing and inviting environment for freshers, as I was when I started out, to sort of train you and guide you. And that faith that came in through that, and then to say, okay, you know what, you studied economics and you studied law, how will you apply it? And sort of that's how I ended up, getting to the competition law team. And I sort of was able to find a sort of a merging or a marrying of both my degrees, so to speak. So yeah, that's a bit of, that was my journey so far. And I will pass it on to Alia now.
Wonderful. So good, Vasudha. So Alia Waziri is our next panelist and speaker. And Alia has been, I will say, a very interesting journey. Unlike Vasudha, who has studied economics, or Ali, who has studied political science, which are a bit more, I will say, popular degrees, Alia studied philosophy in her honors at Hindu College in the University of Delhi in 1417 batch. And then she joined LLB degree program in the 1720 batch at Jindal Global Law School. What inspires me even more about Alia Waziri is, apart from being an advocate, a lawyer in Delhi High Court and Delhi courts, she has been always committed, I will say, as a social lawyer and also as a social individual. I could see her internships or working as a Teach for India fellow, where volunteering for Teach for India, or even she has volunteered very interestingly for an annual Urdu festival called Afrin Afrin as a co-curator, and now she's working for UN Women India, which is basically the United Nations initiative for gender justice and gender, I will say, issues. And I will like Alia to throw more light on this because her work at the UN Women India and also her work as a lawyer, even Alia has a very good experience of spending good time as a law researcher with Honorable Mr. Justice Yogesh Khanna in Delhi High Court. I hope she will throw some light also about her experience as a law researcher in the High Court. And then we will come to our student panelists. Over to you, Alia.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anand sir, for having me here. That's the first thing I want to start with. Before I go on to trace my journey, as you rightly pointed out, from Hindu college to Jindal and now where I am, I want to quickly summarize the essence of what I will talk about. I think that my professors at Jindal have been a blessing in my life. I sometimes tell my parents, I wish I found them earlier in my life. My life would be so different. Now, I had a very regular schooling in Delhi, and I went from a regular school in Delhi to Hindu college, which I'm sure Ali will understand. Hindu college is more than just being an excellent experience. It is an exciting time to be a student. Now, Hindu college is the hub of everything that happens in the country, social, political, economic. It is genuinely such an enriching experience. You are friends with people from all over the country that thanks to our sheltered upbringing, we could not otherwise have thought of meeting. Now, I came from a background of Hindu college where I was a part of the students' union, where I contested elections, and I came from an understanding of how any system is supposed to work. But I remember remember telling my parents that I don't want to do law straight away. I want to go to a university and figure out what are the other options there. And by the end of my Hindu college, I realized that any issue that I want a solution to, it eventually comes back to law. Be it teaching for TFI, be it working for Perfect Relations, which is a PR company. It has the widest client base in India. Be it working for absolutely anything, be it working for a literary festival or anything. If you're trying to find a solution to any problem in our society, somewhere you will come down to the fact that law is so all pervasive. You can join hands with anything and law can be the solution to it. So I realized that if my aim in life is to be a solution finder, to provide solutions to people's problems, any sort of problem, economic, matrimonial, commercial, I think my best bet is law. Which is why I realized that Jindal is perhaps the best place to be, coming from a 3-year undergrad experience. And I think that, sir, earlier when you were mentioning that I've taken a slightly less popular course, which is philosophy, I think that philosophy is the groundwork that I needed for my degree in law. There are so many aspects that I, to date, if I'm writing an article, if I am doing absolutely anything, if I'm trying to understand a very complex matter, I go back to what I was taught in Hindu college. The essence of jurisprudence, the essence of Greek philosophy or a social and political philosophy, I am able to break down things only because of the education that I have thankfully made the choice for, and I think that philosophy, yes, it is an unconventional choice, but it is such honestly, for the lack of a better word, it's a blessing that I chose philosophy. And to come to Jindal now, I think that prior to Jindal, I was still finding ways to circumvent law for some reason. I don't know why I was spending so much time trying to realize that, oh, I'm not meant to be a lawyer, where in fact, that is exactly who I wanted to be. I have seen my father argue, and I realized when I was in 9th standard, that is who I want to be. I want to be a standing counsel. I want to be providing solutions. And I realized when I came to Jindal that it somehow centered me. There was a center that I could move henceforth. I could move from this point on with Jindal being my center. And that was largely due to the professors that I found. My teachers, I want to say that even now that I've passed out, they have peopled not just my youth, like past tense, but they're going, I hope that they people my youth for as long as my career, for as long as possible. Professor Charu Sharma, Professor Rohini Sen, I sometimes wonder to my friends, my family, my colleagues that I wish I found these people earlier in my life. And I think Ali was mentioning earlier that because the gap between faculty and students, of course for us, because we are 3+3, we are already done an undergrad degree, the age gap between us and our teachers is quite, I mean, it's not a wide gap. It may not be narrow, but it's still, we're able to connect to them. And I remember that, of course, I started with academic queries, but these women have pulled me through emotional issues, have pulled me through intellectual dilemmas that I think any lawyer who is studying hard cases has at some point gone through. It was these professors who have given me the strength to dream. I remember sitting in Professor Charu Sharma's classes and writing an article then for some very big law journal. And I was so daunted by the prospect of doing this. And she comes up to me and she says, what exactly are you afraid of? What can you possibly have to be afraid of? And at that age, at 21 years old, you're a tadpole in the legal fraternity, the legal big pool. And here is a distinguished professor telling you, use your voice, say whatever you want to, of course, back it up with very solid arguments. But so long as you have proof for your argument, you don't have to be afraid of anybody. Okay, you don't have experience, you're a tadpole in the legal pool, that's fine, you're allowed to your opinion. And to have role models like that who are anchoring you, who are telling you, you want to dream for the tier 1 law firm, as Vasudha was talking earlier, you want to dream for an international agency, you want to dream to smash and breach the glass ceiling in the legal fraternity, you have every right to dream that. Your dreams are not unprecedented, your dreams are not unheard of, and you can dream precisely how you, I feel like as law students, we all go through an initial bit of inertia. Ye karna hai ki nahi karna hai, hum sahi kar rahe hain. Oh my God, look, there are these, absolute influential people जिनके cases हम law school में पढ़ते हैं. Will we ever do a quarter of what they have done? And of course, now it's an exciting time to be a young lawyer at the bar. We have just had 3 women judges who have been elevated to the Supreme Court. And I remember recently talking to a friend and saying, this is a very exciting time to be. But at the same time, you are hesitant to find your voice, to find your feet. And this is where Jindal has been so unique. My professors I remember when I was applying for a clerkship, I graduated last year, which was COVID year. So all of the ceremonies that tell us, okay, now you're going out to the world, you are no longer a bird, you now have to fly and be a proper person and argue and help people. We never had those formalities. So for us, it was so rushed that we came out of nowhere. Now, COVID just left us in the lurch in a sea with nothing to sort of bank on. And I remember talking to my professors and saying, I don't know if I'm making the right choice. I don't know if this is actually where I want to be. What if litigation is not what I'm suited to? And giving me the grit that I needed to tell myself, no, this is exactly what I mean. Yes, COVID has set us back, but I have a toolbox. You see, law gives you a toolbox. These are the tools. You can use these tools to fix any situation. So I think that toolbox that my professor is telling me, Professor Rohini and Professor Charu Sharma telling me, this is your toolbox. You have been a good student, and your toolbox will come in handy if you go and work in litigation, if you find yourself in a law firm, if you find yourself in an international agency. Your toolbox will never fail you. So in more than one way, I think our professors, I feel like this is becoming more about my professors and less about my journey, but I genuinely feel that they are everything. I genuinely want to say that I owe everything to my professors. If today I am writing articles and I'm talking about things that a 21-year-old law student me could never have thought about, could never have imagined to join these two completely abstract pieces of legislation and say, here is a solution, we can invest in it, we can find the legal framework to work within what we have and find a better solution to the crisis that we are facing. It is because Jindal gives you that place. We have that much scope to literally widen our wings, and we're just ready after that. And I want to quickly talk about the internships. I think that having a mixed variety of internships, yes, it's good to be pretty sure that, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to go to litigation, I want to go to corporate or academia. But while I was fixated on litigation, I still pushed myself to have a wide variety of internships. One of the internships that is still so close to my heart is I was an intern with the public prosecutor. His name is Mr. A.T. Ansari at a Sakib Sessions Court, and it was supposed to be just for 1 month. And I remember I followed him for 3 months because that excitement of not just knowing the CRPC or the Evidence Act, but seeing everything in the flesh. I think there is no greater joy for a law student than to be in a sessions court, hear everything happen, and come back with a list of questions and say, okay, this is how the world works. How am I going to be a part of this? The second that stayed with me was my experience in the Armed Forces Tribunal. Now, the service law and especially the Armed Forces Tribunal is quite a niche. It's a niche area, and to get into that, their records are confidential for obvious reasons. And as lawyers, we all understand this. But to be sitting in a tribunal and understanding that there is a very coveted part of our legal fraternity which operates the way it does, and there's not a lot of knowledge on it. I think that has helped me so much from a perspective on service law matters, on administrative law, on just jurisprudence that we are all contributing to. And of course, my last internship before I graduated was with PSA, which is Preeti Suri and Associates. Now, this is a boutique law firm. As Vasudha was earlier pointing out, if your dream is a tier 1 law firm, that's what you're going to fly in. But I chose a boutique law firm like PSA, and it was terribly hard getting into it. But the nuanced kind of work that I was lucky enough to witness, it's just out of the world. You know, sometimes I think we need to make choices which are off the beaten track, which give us so much knowledge to go henceforth. Yahan se ab kahan jaye, sirf ye options nahi hai, ye bhi ho raha hai. There is also arbitration and mediation which is coming up, state funded mediation. I mean, we have our Chief Justice of India who is saying that mediation has to be a part of our legal recourse. We have to bring in alternate dispute resolution mechanisms to solve our issues. And one of our alumni, when I was in my first year, was doing her thesis on state funded mediation, and one of our guest faculty was kind enough to put me in touch with her, and I had the opportunity to go to the Delhi Dispute Resolution Society and conduct a survey in all their different centers. And that just made me feel like there are more than 4 options that a lawyer can aspire to. You can be in an international agency, you can be in litigation, in corporate world, in academia, in absolutely anything, so long as you have that toolbox that will allow you to be a solution finder, to find solutions for absolutely any situation. So yes, that is my very long journey, very short journey spoken for a very long time.
Hey, Alia, I'm so delighted. I'm actually meeting you virtually after a long time, but I still remember when you came for joining the law school in the first year LB program. And I told you that you did a great thing by studying philosophy, as the foundation is philosophy, jurisprudence and the legal theory, which ultimately governs every aspect of law, comes from philosophy. And even it's all pervasive. It's not specific to a particular, domain. For example, Ali studied political science, which might help you a bit in the constitutional law, and having a background about more something related to political administration or the politics in the country or in the world. But philosophy is all pervasive. Likewise, Vasudha has studied economics, and economics is something which may be relevant a lot in, say, trade laws and economic laws, and even corporate and commercial laws to some extent, or export-import related laws. The foundation is certainly helpful. But of course, I'm not saying this that students should study philosophy before law, but we deliberately kept a course in logic as well as introduction to philosophy courses in our undergraduate program in BA Honors Legal Studies, what Sejal is pursuing. So our last panelist to speak at this colloquium is also the youngest one. Ideally, we should give the youngest one the first chance, but because Sejal had just entered into the law school, and I wanted her to hear from her seniors, those who have done it and experienced it, before I invite her. But I must tell you, Alia and Vasudha and Ali, despite being the youngest one and the first semester BA Honors student, if you look at her LinkedIn profile, you will find she describes herself as so many things. She is an entrepreneur at a very young age. She is a YouTuber, an international speaker, a content creator, an investor as well, a graduate of Strawberry Fields High School. She passed class 10th and 12th from there, the ICSE board. I'm sure Strawberry Fields is a very good school in Chandigarh. I've heard the name earlier also. Students have joined from that school. But how I came to know about Sejal was through some of her YouTube videos, which suddenly I found one day. She's interviewing some multi-billionaire CEO of a big corporation on a channel named Sejal Sood. So I'm so proud, so glad to have Sejal in this session. And directly, a pass out of class 12. And I'm so delighted that you chose the 3+3 pathway. You want to do a 3-year BA Honors degree in legal studies, which is basically a BA law. So unlike us, I also did an economics honors before taking up LLB. And in our time, there was no option to do a BA law, what is offered in many places in the US and UK and many European universities as well. In University of Arizona or University of California, Berkeley, or Wisconsin, Madison, a lot of places, or Pittsburgh University, one of the most popular undergraduate program is BA law or BA legal studies. But in India, we were the first law school to start it last year. And law schools were meant to be offering only LLB or BLLB, either 5-year or 3-year LLB. So it was a little unconventional what it appeared. But I am very delighted that our program is doing really very well. The students like Sejal and even your senior batches, they are doing so well. And I am very high hopes of, some brilliant litigators, I mean, law firm people in every stream of legal profession and otherwise as well will come out from this program. So over to you, Sejal.
Right. Good evening. Firstly, I would like to thank Mr. Anand Prakash Mishra for this introduction. And I would also like to say hi to my fellow speakers in the audience. And before I start sharing my 1.5-month journey at the Global Law School, I'd like to give you a background of my journey. So I come from a legal and business background. As Sir mentioned, I run a YouTube channel. I'm quite active with the Chandigarh Startup Network, and I also am quite active in the Financial Literacy Network. I host spaces around investing, financial literacy, and I also share my investing journey and the mistakes I've made. I run a book club on Twitter, and I'm also rated as top 20 international women with Nobility and Courage by T-Call Mexico. And I've pitched a few business plans on national and international level. I was also third for the TGL Youth Entrepreneur Challenge, and so on and so forth. So the entrepreneurial bug bit me when I was 15. We had a lot of encouragement at our school for business plan pitching, the entrepreneurship club. And my school has also had alumni who are Forbes 30 under 30 and students who have, had a few startups in the startup journey. So, I as a student had always found it very interesting, as an entrepreneur, you build a bridge between the problem and a solution, and you also find ways to monetize it. Plus, there's in our country, there's a saying that there's not enough jobs, but I think the problem lies because we have enough job seekers, but not enough job creators. So the whole idea seemed very interesting to me, and I thought of taking an entrepreneurial plunge. I'm looking forward to doing a startup in the legal segment. I've also been quite intrigued by the content creation industry. So I regularly create content on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And currently I'm working towards building a solid distribution network. So whenever I launch, I'll have, social capital, I'll have a solid personal brand, and it's also going to bring me other opportunities besides the projects I'm working on. Also, the school environment was quite encouraging of entrepreneurship and other opportunities in pitching competitions. Also, the dinner table conversations at my house were very different. So when I used to sit for food, my father used to say, say one Hindi thing in Hindi to me. Classroom में तो सब लोग पढ़ते हैं, अब ये बताओ तुम classroom के बाहर क्या कर रहे हो? Right. And there was a lot of stress on networking because I believe that your network is at the end of the day your net worth, right? There was a lot of talks around asset liability, a lot of industrial visits where I saw and I realized that this is something I would like to do. So now coming to my journey at Jindal, I've spent 1.5 months over here. I personally chose the 3+3 course because I really like the kind of freedom and opportunities this course offers. And I'm personally very, very happy because my peers have been very, very welcoming. My college faculty has been very nice and friendly. And, we have professors from across the globe. So you get a global exposure at my college. And if I may say this, Jindal is the pioneer of legal education in the country. And I'm also specifically looking forward to the exchange programs and, the learning opportunities with interdisciplinary learning. Now, it sounds very odd, at the end of the day, I might want to get into entrepreneurship or somewhat around investing, and I want to study law. So the reason I chose law was because I personally believe it empowers you as an individual. It makes you more aware of your rights. It gives you a very analytical brain, and also you become very wise while signing the fine print. Right. And I say this with a lot of pride that I'm studying at a college whose chancellor, Mr. Naveen Jindal, led a landmark judgment that allowed institutionals and individuals to hoist the national flag. And the kind of legacy, the kind of alumni network Jindal offers is just amazing. And I'm looking forward to my law school journey. So that's what I have to say.
So Sejal, I'm so delighted to bring you particularly in this panel where the theme is diversity. Diversity of legal careers, diversity of legal profession. I must tell you, among all the options of higher education and professional education, in my view and understanding, no academic or professional program in higher education provides you the kind of variety and diversity of work and opportunities with law provides. And rightly, our Vice Chancellor actually used to say that law is the new liberal arts and lawyers are doing everything. It's like if you study medicine, you are destined to become a doctor. Your area of work is mostly with medicine or with the medical industry or with hospitals or treatment of patients. And of course, that is a great service, a great field. That's not true about law, that if you study law, you are destined to become a lawyer in the courtroom or a judge. But I know lawyers who actually became full-time novelists. Dropping a corporate law firm job in Singapore, I know a lawyer who became a novelist and author for whole life. I know lawyers who actually never practiced law, never got into legal profession. We have our own graduates. I want to bring one of our young scholars colloquium on law and entrepreneurship. I want to refer to some of our own graduates who have set up amazing companies. I mean, they are actually listed in Economic Times 30 under 30. And another set of students I know who after completing a law degree moved to a business degree. One of our graduates have gone to Harvard Business School to pursue an MBA program and wants to maybe become a corporate executive or entrepreneur, vis-a-vis choosing the legal option, becoming a hardcore lawyer. And rightly, in the developed countries like the US, a lot of Fortune 500 company CEOs are JD graduates who have earned a Juris Doctor and are qualified lawyers, members of the bar in New York and California and elsewhere. But they are basically corporate executives. I know lawyers who are, doing almost everything. They cannot become dental surgeons or doctors or, civil engineers or architects. Only very few select areas which lawyers are not doing. Otherwise, lawyers are doing everything. Because I believe, and most importantly, if you look at the political leadership, one profession which dominates in the parliament or assemblies in India or any of the world parliament, you look at the parliament in any of the countries, lawyers occupy the highest share among professionals who are the members in those elected bodies. So in a way, law teaches that leadership, that public service, that a commitment to social work, community service, and it actually develops leaders for the society, not just judges and lawyers, which is the common conception. So I'm so delighted I brought you in this program where you, you shared your journey from the age of 15. I remember I was in class 11 when I was in 15th or just past class 10. I could not have imagined about, something like entrepreneurship or, most of the students are simply worried about class 11, 12th studies and boards. But I'm so happy, Sejal, and I can assure you it's going to be a great journey for you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Now our audience have started asking questions. I'm so happy. Rishabh Singh Tomar has asked a question which is relevant for the Hindu College alumni in this group. Rishabh has asked, being a Hindu college DU graduate and jumbled with the same connotations as Mr. Ali had in terms of choosing law as a career, I resonate with his experience. It gives me courage to march ahead. Thank you so much, Rishabh. It's not a question, but a comment, but I must tell you, the journey from Hindu college to say, Jindal Global Law School is certainly going to be absolutely enriching, but you must not miss to take the LSAT exam, which will be the requirement for admission in the LLB program. I have another question from Sankalp has asked an interesting question, and that is something relevant for all three of you, Ali, Alia, and Vasudha, because you have undergone the internship pathway. Sankalp Tiwari has asked, please brief me regarding the internship route you followed starting from your first year, as I'm a first-year law student in JGLS 5-year course, and I also want an insight on internship route. I would like three of you to share a bit of your own internship experiences, though I'm so happy that he's our student. I will rather direct Sankalp to be in touch with the Office of Career Services, the OCS, which is an amazingly resourced office now with faculty advisors and a lot of professional staff many of them are actually lawyers and who have worked in different settings, who are there to help you in the entire internship. Actually, you should refer to the official internship brochure, which we have published. I will like our Office of Career Services to send it to all first-year students like you. But let us hear from this panel. I will say, Ali, you should start your internship experience, and then Vasudha and Alia.
Sure, Professor Mishra. So to the question that's been asked, so I had interned throughout my 3-year journey, and I had started off with a human rights based internship. This organization called Human Rights Law Network. That was my first internship. That was my first brush with the law. It was a very good internship. The reason I started with that was a very leading lawyer, Mr. Colin Gonsalves. I had written to him when I just joined law school. So my law school journey started somewhere around last week of July, and first week of August we started a session. So during that, I knew that November, December, I had to intern. So I had started off with the Human Rights Law Network based internships. And thereafter, I tried and got my hands to a law firm. Then after that, I tried my brush with a premier law firm. And there I did hardcore general corporate advisory sort of work, which frankly, at that point of time, I did not like, because I was under the impression that I'll get to go to courts, do a litigation. But I tried for litigation, but I got a general corporate practice. So you can't do much about it. So that is a premier law firm I interned with. And thereafter, there's another hardcore litigation-based law firm called Parekh & Company. I did a litigation stint there. There again, I was going to courts, doing batch of matters, assisting with primary research. So the idea was to get my hands in everything and anything. So right now, when I was in my first year, second year, and third year, the main focus of you as a law student should not be to only stick to a particular area, say only a law firm or a lawyer. The idea for you is to be a generalist. Try and sort of do all sorts of kinds of internships, so that you at least have an idea of a law, idea of the way the function operates, the working environment, etc. So for me, in the span of 3 years, I believe I would have easily done a variety of internships, learned the working atmosphere, and also adding on to that, try and do a different jurisdictional internship if it's possible. Now, why do I say that? Because I had a different jurisdictional perspective when I was doing not necessarily Delhi, but also Bombay and Bangalore. I know there are certain challenges when you're doing all of that in terms of costs and otherwise, but it gives you a very different perspective. Because when you go to a new jurisdiction, when I went to Bangalore, the autowalas used to speak in pure Kannada. They didn't understand English or Hindi. So that is a bit of an issue for me. But that's important. That's fundamentally about learning. how do you adapt yourself to a different diverse setting? So when you do all of that, when you go to a distinct jurisdiction, you are out of your comfort zone. You don't have your mother's food or your father's food. You don't have the luxury of your home. You don't have your own, say, car. So all of that traveling and sort of juggling these dosas in Bangalore, etc. So me and my colleague from Jindal, both of us got this opportunity that we used to just bump. So we used to have South Indian food, and used to be like 30 days and 40 days, I'm done with this food. I'm going back. So the idea is to again have some sort of a diverse setting in terms of exposure. And also, if you can, I tried and got my hands in a foreign internship. That's an international law firm in the Middle East, primarily in Dubai. So when I was in my final year of law school, I was hounding a lot of foreign law firms. I was just mailing them, and I was just trying to get my hands anywhere possibly I could. So I got my hands in one of the firms, and I sort of went there, and I just tried and understand the culture there, how people interact, what are the clients, who are the people who work in, what positions are they working in. So that gave me a very, very hands-on exposure, not necessarily only to the law, but also to relationship building, people. Because I think law, at the end of the day, it's more about your relationships dealing with society, how the behavior of the individual is. So how do the individuals sort of interact with the society? How do you interact with the client? In the case of a corporate, the client being an internal client. In the case of a service provider, law firm, the client being an external client. So all of that, when you do that in your internships, when you try and sort of marry law, in the case of, say, a corporate with business, you learn a lot. So I would say just be open to the idea of anything and everything. Try and be a generalist at this point of time, because law is a vast ocean. You need not know everything and anything. So it can be either, say, with a tax boutique law firm, next it can be with an antitrust competition-based law firm, or can be with a lawyer also. So try and be open, go with an open mind, try and have a diverse setting, diverse experiences. And at the end of the day, I'm sure you'll learn from these experiences as you know, you'll go to further heights. So I believe that sort of answers your questions, your queries. If you have anything else, you may shoot it to me. I'll have a look at it. Thanks.
Thanks, Ali. I think you've covered it. But I'm going to give a little bit of, I mean, my experience was a little unconventional and a little different, so I will share that as well. In my view, the Bar Council requires a certain minimum amount of internships. To that extent, that must be done and complied with, because it's there for a reason. It's definitely very helpful. That said, Jindal allows you to sort of replace, as long as you've covered the minimum, you're covering the minimum requirement, to replace the additional sort of opportunities you get, because in each of your holidays, whether it is a summer break or the December break, you may have excess sort of breaks over and above your internship quota. I would advise that maybe you use it for gaining other exposure, which can complement your experience, so that at the end of your 5 years, you will have a holistic idea. So during your the mandatory internship requirements, do different kinds of internships, as Ali also spoke about, so that you get an idea a little bit of everything. So at least if you don't have complete clarity on what you want, you will know at least what you don't want. And for me, why I say that is I completed the minimum quota. I did an internship, again, human rights related was one of my first one, specifically women rights and domestic violence related largely. I had the opportunity to intern with a judge of the Supreme Court, Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul. And of course, I also interned with a commercial litigation firm in Bombay, K. Asher and Company. But aside from that, I spent a lot of my time in these breaks. I attended summer programs, which gave me a little international exposure, where as part of these summer programs, we were taken to law firms and got different law firms, international law firms in those international jurisdictions, where we also got a chance to ask questions, attend seminars. We sort of spent a whole day there, and you get some insights as well. I was working on the moot, so that also took up, one of my internship breaks. So the moot gives a different experience because this was an international arbitration moot where you sort of discuss um, international commercial law. And that also gives you an insight onto how people interact in different jurisdictions in terms of business behavior or sort of the legal side of that. So I would say give yourself a well-rounded experience, and don't be bogged down only on doing only internships. Please give yourself enough exposure so that you at the end of it, you have a holistic idea. Because I ended up working for a law firm, and my internship sort of didn't lead to that law firm. I also got lucky that I got taken up. But the conventional route would be to do at least one internship where they get to assess you and decide whether they would like to hire you or not. But aside from that, make sure that you don't miss out on anything. That's what I would say.
Building from what Ali and Vasudha said, essentially they've covered it all. But if I were to just quickly summarize what I think both of them said, and I also genuinely believe in it, is that while it's excellent to know that this is the field of law that you want to go into, it's actually extremely productive and helpful to you and your journey, and just figuring out what you are good at more than what you want to do, is to give yourself the opportunity to dip your toes in any field of law that is available to you. Let's say right now, if you're in Delhi and you are in a college that is also in Delhi, you have access to absolutely everything, be it a commission, be it a tribunal, be it a litigation chamber, be it a in-house legal clerkship. If you're preparing for, let's say, the judicial services, you have access to so much. So I would say that don't limit yourself to what you like. I knew that I always had the aptitude and interest for criminal law, but I pushed myself to get a corporate in-house legal experience, which was not something I wanted to do. But I realized that while it may not be my interest, I am surprisingly decent at it. And to come to that realization is something that will be quite fruitful for you and your journey. And I also recommend, I think what Ali was saying earlier, that try and figure out other jurisdictions to do. I think that's an excellent choice. And if you get the opportunity to, and always write. Yes, internships are important, but I think to be able to pen down your thoughts and your takeaways, your learnings from each experience, and put it in print, that will come in so handy to you when you look back when you were a student, whether it be an undergrad student or a law school student. You will see that your internships change the way you write. And I think in any kind of field that we are as lawyers, writing is always going to be a part of our lives, whether we're arguing, whether we are in any agency or in commission, tribunal, if we're in the corporate world. Our writing is going to change as we go along. And when you are summarizing your experience in any internship, what is your key takeaway? What is the one judgment, one case law, one anything that defined your internship? And when you put it down years later, when you come back, or I still do this, so I don't have that much experience to say years later when I come back, but even now, that every month when I learn something new, I come back and I realize my thinking is changing as I am discovering new things. Let's say my first internship that I did with a criminal lawyer, and my last internship that I did with a corporate with a boutique law firm, the difference in my writing, the difference in how I solve any issue of law has changed. And I think that should be a part of your internship experience.
That's so wonderful. I mean, for young students of law, I'm sure the comments of all three of you, Ali, Alia, and Vasudha, very, very useful. And Vasudha referred to the mandatory internships. I must tell you, as per the legal education rules, in a 5-year law program, 5 internships are mandatory. And in 3-year LLB program, 3 internships are mandatory. Means 1 internship in a year is a mandatory requirement of Bar Council of India. But in our university, I'm sure almost every student does the double of the mandatory requirement. So at least 5-6 internships in the LLB 3-year program, and some 8 to 10 internships the students do in the 5-year law program. And certainly a student like Sejal can also think about, doing some even maybe more than 10 internships in, say, if she's pursuing the 3+3 pathway and studying law for 6 years, if she chooses to continue at Jindal itself for her LLB honors, the beauty of a BA Legal Studies program is she has that option to even leave Jindal after 3 years and go to, say, a place like Campus Law Center where I studied, or say Government Law College Mumbai, or ILS Law College Pune, or in your city like Punjab University Chandigarh. There are few good traditional law departments. For that matter, Banaras Hindu University. There are quite a few traditional law departments which offer good 3-year LLB programs. But it's difficult for Jindal graduate of BA honors to, say, move to other university within India with the kind of, legal education ecosystem which JGLS is today. So I think our time is up. We initially wanted this program to be 1 hour, but usually we are going to have it like almost 1 hour, 30 minutes. And it's so good to have all of you here. Any parting remarks if you want to say about our today's theme, or any message to the audience? I will like each one of you can just take 1 minute and give your parting remarks.
Sure. So I think it's a great way to connect, and I'm sure it's pretty good that Jindal is taking the initiative of connecting with the alumni, young or otherwise, and sharing diverse perspectives of lawyers. And this is truly, I'm sure no other institution or law school has been doing that insofar as the young alumni is concerned. So I think it's once again a great opportunity for young budding lawyers or soon to be lawyers who are trying to take the 3 or the 5-year path to actually listen, understand, pore over it, try and introspect whether this is a professional career for him or her. Put simply, a great initiative. Kudos.
Yeah, Vasudha.
I just want to thank everyone again. This has been, as I always feel that attending as a speaker is also one thing, but I think I take back a lot as well. There's a lot to learn from everyone here. So thank you for that. To the students who have questions, or those who are watching, I will say 2 things. I will say one thing, don't run the rat race. Make sure that you get good education, work hard. Jindal is a great place. Make the most of it, because there is a lot of opportunity. I think in 3 years, we have, at least the 3 of us, Ali, myself, and Alia, have done more than we could fit in 3 years. And I think in 5 years also, they tend to do more than they can in actually 5 years. So make the most of it. And don't worry about narrowing down or following a single path. You never know what can come up for you. So keep your horizons broad. And second, it's always a matter of pride to do anything to do with Jindal, JGU, JGLS. We are a young institution. So building such networks, alumni with students and professors, we're on a good path. So I will say this is great and glad to be a part of the journey.
Thanks, Vasudha, for essentially covering everything that I wanted to say, but I will quickly build on from what she was saying, that we are a new institution, fairly relatively new, but what we lack in, let's say, the number of years we make up for it in our in the willingness to put our students out there in the world. Vasudha and I being very recent examples, of course, Sejal and Ali also, but the gumption and the grit that we as students have right now to go out there in the world in our different fields, it comes from the institution itself. Yes, it is ourselves, but it is the institution that's helped us hone everything. उन्होंने तराश के हमें जैसे बाहर भेजा है, it's because of Jindal. And I will quickly say that for me, this is more of a privilege, because I graduated during COVID, which was a 0 year, and to come back to my institution, even if it is virtually, it is such a honor to be here, to be a part of this. And I hope that Jindal is literally the best that there is to offer to all future law students and lawyers.
Right. And I'd like to thank Professor Mishra and all my panelists. And thank you for inviting me there. That's one. Secondly, I do agree with Professor Mishra. The environment in Jindal is unparalleled. The liberty you get, and even the interaction you have with the professors, it's really good. I'm looking forward to the exchange programs, and I'm also looking forward to the interdisciplinary learning and connecting with the alumni network. And hopefully at the end, I'm able to make through with my entrepreneurial journey. And thank you so much for inviting me there today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for having us here. I completely forgot to say that earlier, but thank you so much for putting this together.
So, Alia and all of you, why I do this is for my own pleasure, for my own happiness. In Sanskrit, there is a term called Swanta Sukhaya, something you do for your own sukh, your own pleasure. So I completed 10 years few days back in Jindal. I had joined in 2011 on 27th September. So this is my 11th year now in the law school. And like many of the people who were unaware about JGLS, I only knew a bit about Professor Rajkumar before joining JGLS in 2011, and the fact that he was my senior from Campus Law Center, and also his background. When I was an LLM student at Delhi University, he came to deliver a lecture in law faculty as a professor of City University, Hong Kong. And I could not attend that lecture actually. I was aware, but somehow in university system, and like many of our students who do not attend lectures of dignitaries, I was a part of Delhi University hostel system, and maybe due to lunch or some issue, I missed it, but I was aware that one of our alumni is a Rhodes Scholar, studied LLM at both Oxford and Harvard, and a professor at City University, Hong Kong. And he came, I think this was year 2005, for a lecture. There was no mention of Jindal that time. And after I worked for a while in the industry in many aspects, but I got my LLM and qualified UGC net in law, and also having that commitment to be in higher education for life and in the education field, and not going for hardcore litigation or corporate firms or other kind of legal work. I came to Jindal as a young program associate in 2011. And today, why I do this, because all of you I have seen on campus. And when I hear your stories, I simply feel being in Sonipat and giving so many years to one institution at this place. Sonipat is not something like, say, Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore, or even, we can't compare with, of course, with the foreign countries, but we have met Sonipat in a way where professors from Boston and London and Singapore and Australia and around the world, we are now having faculty members who are nationals of 41 different countries. And in a way, we have, in our own way, put Indian legal education on the global map. Today, our law school is ranked 76th in the world. This was unimaginable. This was not even, I could dream in say 2011 or 2012. For the first time we thought about ranking was 2016. We never participated in any ranking for that matter. And we are ahead of so many law schools in the UK and US and Canada and world over. And certainly in near future, I will look forward to have our law school in top 50 law schools in the world in due course. And this has been an amazing journey. It was not possible without students and alumni like you. So it has been a swanta sukhai, for your own pleasure, for your own happiness. You do this. And we will continue doing this. I will like this to remain a weekly event. When I started it, I thought it might become fortnightly or may become monthly if I am not able to. But I have my other colleagues and even my students who can take over as moderators and can organize it. This interaction between alumni and students should continue. And thankfully, this COVID has taught us the Zoom and the virtual way, because till 2020 March, we never did anything virtual on Jindal campus. Whatever was done was on university campus itself. The people came to campus, be it the Supreme Court judges or be it the professors from Yale or Harvard or Oxford or even Indian universities and institutions. They all came to campus. But we have been fortunate to organize some of the biggest academic conferences, including the World University Summit this year, where more than 100, I will say, vice chancellors and university leaders from around the world culminated in one event of 3 days, which was inaugurated by the Honorable Vice President of India and Education Minister of the country, and a lot of, so we are able to do a lot of things that in the campus. And certainly I will love to always have our alumni and students to be connected, to be in touch with the institution. And all three of you, whenever you are in Delhi, you are most welcome to come to Sonipat. And even we will organize an overnight stay for you. You can be on campus, spend some time, meet some of the faculty members of your time, some of your friends, and it will always be a pleasure. So with this, we are ending our this week's Younger Scholars Colloquium, but this journey will continue. And thank you so much for joining me and giving your Sunday evening, and all the audience. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
Bye.
Bye.